So we have the recording secretary, Lori Marsh is here today, executive assistant. I'll be the acting chairman today as Commissioner Whittam is joining us by telephone. Present today, staff present. Chief Canfield, Captain Alan Grayton, executive assistant Lori Marsh, Commissioners Tar and Mello, and Commissioner Whittam, as I said, by phone. So we do have a quorum. And we will begin the agenda with recognizing Chief Canfield for commendations and awards.
I do have one. If we could talk about it at the end of the agenda, if that's okay with you?
Okay. Yep. Resignations and retirement,
Nothing?
promotions and classification changes,
Nothing?
command staff reports. I'll recognize Captain Grayton for that.
Just a couple of things. We're still working on the radio system. I think the end of this month, we should be able to get the equipment up onto the water tower and the weirs. And then hopefully sometime in January, we'll be able to get the system up and running, get all the testing done, and then hopefully switch over by then. Our 3 cruisers are still not built yet. I got an update from Irwin last week that they believe they're going to be built the first week in January. So that another 4 to 6 weeks after that before they get delivered. So we're looking like February, March, before we'll have the cars close to being on the road.
Are those all SUVs?
Yes.
Questions at all?
They're gonna replace the smaller cars with those, right?
Right, we're going to all SUVs.
Out-of-state schools, school shooting prevention leadership forum. Recognize Chief Canfield for that discussion.
This is a request for myself to attend. This is a 2-day school sponsored by the FBI National Academy on leadership in school and school security. It talks about multi-agency response, coordination of resources, understanding and conducting school security assessments, building capacities, kind of builds and supports the group I'm on with the Governor's Task Force on School Preparedness and Safety. So it's a 2-day school in New York.
Mr. Mello, any questions?
Hey, we're gonna do the same things you did last year on, the school thing they did, going in with the whole crew and.
We are working on, with Homeland Security for a grant to do an active shooter drill.
Yeah.
It won't be based on the school necessarily, but it'll be along the same lines. I'm not sure when it's gonna happen just because of funding and the grant writing capabilities, but we are working on that.
Chief, I noticed that the target audience was also, in addition to high-level administrators and chiefs, that school resource officers were a target audience for this training.
Yep.
How is that going to work with our SRO? Are takeaways you're going to bring back?
I'll
and-
bring it back to our
Go with him?
SROs and our school superintendent as well.
Okay. Any other questions, Commissioner Mello?
Nope.
Captain Knogle is not here today, Chief, so I'll have to recognize you for the Operations Division report.
So we were technically full staffed, however, Officer Lindsay Batstone has requested to step down from being a full-time patrol officer to take the administrative position that is vacated by Cheryl, who is retiring on the 20th of this month. For family reasons and scheduling reasons, she thought that this was much better fit for her family. So we will be full staff minus that position. There's a recruiting test in February. However, we have several applicants that are in the wings now, and our recruitment looks really good. So I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to be full staff with the addition of those new hires.
Is she gonna stay as a part-time?
She is going to stay on part-time. Yep.
And when will that take effect, Chief?
That will take, she's already started as of the 9th of this month. She cross-trained with Cheryl for the 2-week period. Cheryl's done this Friday, and then Lindsay will take over entirely.
Any questions, Commissioner Mellon? Commissioner Whittam, any questions?
No, none whatsoever.
Okay. Commission action, acceptance of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Make
I'll
a
entertain a motion to accept those as
motion-
presented.
We accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Is a motion by Commissioner Mello. Any second?
second it.
Second by Commissioner Whittam. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pass unanimously. The minutes will be, of the November 19th meeting will accept it as distributed. Review of monthly activity reports. Chief Canfield?
On the commission action, do you want to approve that school?
Okay. Also, on that school that Chief Canfield just identified for leadership training and school resource shooting, officer shooting, I'll accept a motion to accept that request for training in New York.
I make a motion that. that
Motion made by Commissioner Mello. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Second by Chairman Whittam. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Passed unanimously. The training is approved. Review of department monthly activity reports. Chief Canfield?
So for the month of November of this year, we responded to 1,862 calls for service. Corresponding month last year was 1,236 calls, for those up a little bit. We investigated 267 criminal offenses, clearing a total of 200 that we were cleared by arrest, making a total of 120 physical custody arrests. We responded to 30 domestic disturbance calls, 89 other disturbance calls, 5 suicidal subjects, and investigated 8 violation of restraining orders. Laconia Police Department volunteers donated 26 hours of their own time, and our Victim Services Unit donated 18.5 hours, serving a total of 7 different crime victims.
Questions? Questions, Chairman Whittam, Commissioner Mello?
None.
I noticed a big jump in the motor vehicle stops, Chief.
Yeah, there's been a big push. Captain Finogle has been able to make the schedule work to put some extra people out there with the concentrated effort of stopping cars and making motor vehicle stops. So there is a significant jump in motor vehicle stops from 479 this month to 166, which was the corresponding month last year.
Yeah.
So very significant efforts to do some more proactive motor vehicle enforcement efforts.
That's about 16 or so per day, so pretty good.
Yep.
Criminal Investigative Unit statistics, Chief Canfield.
For the month of November of this year, they took on 7 initial cases, conducted 7 follow-up cases, made 2 felony arrests, 1 felony charge, 3 misdemeanor arrests, 22 misdemeanor charges, initiated 34 search or arrest warrants, cleared 1 case exceptionally, cleared another case unfounded, conducted 24 sex offender registrations, investigated 1 computer-related crime, conducted 2 background investigations, 1 knock-and-talk drug investigation, 5 drug intel sheets, and conducted 4 polygraph exams, as well as helped out with covering 20 hours of training time, primarily in the instructor role for fall firearms. If I note that they conducted a very significant search warrant yesterday. They resulted in almost $14,000 in cash, about 5 fingers of heroin, some methamphetamine, as well as it led to another location in Laconia that netted, well, the whole operation netted 5 arrests, but it led to another location that led to another search warrant, and they were able to recover a number of stolen checks that were stolen in a burglary 2 days before. So some very good work in the proactive drug world.
Without going into detail, Chief, were there any familiar faces in that sweep?
I think most of them were familiar. It was an operation that was conducted by our detective unit, our drug unit, as well as the New Hampshire Attorney General's Drug Task Force that one of our detectives is assigned to. So it was a very good interagency cooperation and very good payback on that position as well.
Yeah. Just wondering if, I may not know this, but with all the emphasis on the bail revisions in place or about to be changed again, do you know if any of those arrestees were on bail for a previous offense?
I don't know if they were on bail. I can tell you that they were bailed and released, and they were back out within 2 hours. So hopefully that bail reform changes a little bit more.
Questions, Commissioner Mello, Commissioner Whittam?
No, no.
No, none here.
Budget printouts, Captain Grayton.
We're pretty much right in line. We're about 2% below the full bottom line of the budget at this point. If you have any questions, I can.
I did have
Address
one, but
those.
I gotta
Find
figure out what it was. You know, I thought I read here somewhere of a budget line item that I hadn't seen before, and I thought it said court overtime. Did I read that right or not right?
Yes, you did. The city council has requested some information on where our overtime money goes to. So I'm working with Glenn and Lori, has been putting all that information together for the fiscal office so that they can get that information to the council to see if, the court costs, the holiday overtime costs, those type of overtime costs.
So that's a new line item then?
Correct. Yep.
So I wasn't
No,
I wasn't imagining things.
No, you got it good.
So we're about halfway through the fiscal year roughly?
Correct.
You see any potential line items that are gonna cause you some concern at all? or-
We're gonna have a couple that we're over on just due to, we had a cruiser that was totaled due to a deer strike. So the money to buy another car, we got some money from Primex. The rest of the money has to come out of our budget to fill that car back in and then put the equipment in it as well. So we're gonna, in our miscellaneous line, we're gonna be over, maybe a few lines where we're gonna be a little over, but we'll be able to make up for it.
Questions from the commissioners?
No question.
No, none.
Thank you, Alan. Monthly traffic statistics, Chief Canfield.
For the month of November, we issued a total of 130 parking tickets. One was for no parking, in a no parking zone, 6 left wheel to the curb, 21 for parking on the sidewalk, 1 for blocking a driveway or alley, 3 for parking in a space not designated, 14 for parked midnight to sunrise, and 84 parking tickets for parked during the period of snow removal. For the month of November, we responded to a total of 42 motor vehicle accidents. 8 of them were with injury. The number 1 cause for accidents for the month was failure to yield, which accounted for 9 of the accidents. The number 2 cause was for driver inattention or distraction, which accounted for 7 of those accidents. And the number 3 cause of the accidents for November was unsafe backing, which accounted for 6 of those motor vehicle accidents. The number 1 location for motor vehicle accidents for the month was Union Avenue, which accounted for 9 accidents, followed by North Main Street, which accounted for 5 of those accidents, and Parade Road, which accounted for 4 motor vehicle accidents. As I said before, motor vehicle stops for the month of November were up 481 car stops versus 167 for November of last year. 30 of those car stops received motor vehicle summonses, and 375 received warnings. So a little bit of effort and a big push on the motor vehicle enforcement efforts.
Commissioner, questions?
Oh, that's good.
Good work.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Whittam.
How many of those traffic stops or accidents were related to the construction, going on Union Avenue?
I don't know. I don't know how many of them were directly related. I don't think we would be able to track that anyway.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Monthly fleet report, Captain Grayton.
Any questions I can answer on that?
No, I don't have any questions.
I don't have any
Commissioner Mello? Commissioner Woodham, any questions on the fleet report?
No, sir.
Thank you. Correspondence to and from the department? Chief Canfield?
We received a nice thank you letter from a woman who was missing her daughter that we assisted with. It all ended well, but she was very thankful. There was several Facebook posts on our Facebook our Facebook site. One of them was from a woman who said it was so nice to see Laconia Police Department out walking the beat on Main Street. Brings back great memories and encourages community connections. So we've been out hitting Main Street a lot more with a walk-in beat as well. In your packet, you'll see a letter from the International Association of Chiefs of Police. They renewed my appointment to the International Terrorism Committee that I was assigned to appointed to last year.
Chief, are there any other New Hampshire law enforcement professionals on that committee?
Not from New Hampshire.
Not from New Hampshire, you're the only one?
I am.
Congratulations.
It was a selective process to get onto it, and there's no one else from New Hampshire.
Great. Congratulations to you and the department for that.
Thank you.
It's a big honor to have him.
Chief's report, Chief Canfield?
Overdoses for total overdose calls this year to date. We've had 53 in comparison to 109 that we had last year. 7 of those overdoses were fatal this year as compared to a total of 12 last year. So overdoses and overdose deaths are trending about half of what they were last year. That being said, we're seeing a lot more meth than we are heroin at this point.
Certainly, as I said at the last meeting, trending in the right direction.
For sure.
Sure.
For sure. It's, it's a kind of the drug of choice, and certainly opportunity and cost of the drugs and the overdoses have changed that climate.
Any speculation about why we've seen almost a 50% drop in the overdose calls?
I think it's a transition to meth, cost-wise and lethality-wise. I think people realize that the heroin's cut with fentanyl, and they're scared of overdosing and dying, so now they're switching to meth. But that being said, we're seeing a lot of polydrug users that are using both of them as well. So,
Questions, Commissioner Mello?
Yeah, you anticipate like this month, December to be higher? This month will be higher, anticipate the death rates or overdoses.
I don't think so. I mean, we're still trending way below what we were last year with only 2 weeks left of the year. I think we're gonna still be about half of what we were last year for deaths and for total overdose numbers.
Chief, did you, in that sweep you talked about earlier, in one of the earlier items here, was there a fair amount of methamphetamine that was seized or observed, or no?
I don't know what the actual quantity was. I know they seized some meth. I'm not sure what the actual quantity was in it. Do you,
It was less than the amount of heroin.
yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen, has the drug unit seen any evidence of increased cooking of meth locally?
No, I think most of our meth comes, or probably all of it for New England now, is probably coming straight from Mexico. We're not seeing any home
Home
cooked
cooking, no.
stuff, which is good because that's a safety factor and
Absolutely.
the explosive nature of it. But this stuff is all commercially produced in illicit labs in Mexico.
Absolutely.
We continue to conduct safety talks as well as active shooter talks. We've done a number of those recently. I did one this morning at the Visiting Nurse Association. And then lastly, I just want to remind you of the retiree Christmas luncheon that's being held this Friday at the Police Department on the 20th at noontime for all of our retirees. In addition to that, for anyone that may have known, I just want to recognize Chief Merrill, who was the number 2 person running the New Hampshire Police Standards and Training Council. He just recently passed away from a very quick bout of cancer. So a very unfortunate time of year for him, as well as the New Hampton Police Chief's brother, Kevin Stevens, who used to work for us, and also work for state police. So we'll be attending those services in some capacity as well, but just something to keep in your thoughts and prayers this time of year, for sure.
Where did Merrill come from?
He was with New Hampshire Police Standards and Training Council. And that is all for my report.
Questions? Commissioner Mello? Commissioner Whittam, any questions?
No, none, thank you.
Thank you. Any old business? Any new business? Confirmation of the next meeting date, January 15th, 2020. Any other business?
I don't have any.
I just have one other thing. I would like to just say thank you for serving on the Police Commission the last 4 years. I appreciate your support and your knowledge and your insight and everything that you've done for our agency and me personally. It's been a true honor to work with you, and I want to say thank you. In honor of that, we have a little something for you. I'd like to present you with a plaque to recognize your service and your time on the commission, so. Actually, you should probably present it to me.
I hate to see do this,
Yeah.
but I certainly gonna miss you a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief, we really will miss you. Thank you. Thank you.
And I will, I prematurely, Commissioner Whittam, comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo the chief's comments that I think that Commissioner Tar has brought a real high level of expertise, energy, commitment, and stature to the Laconia Police Commission, and he's going to be missed. You'll be missed, Brother Thomas.
Thanks, Commissioner Whittam. I really appreciate the comments. And I'll just say that I've enjoyed my 4 years on the commission. It went by fast. My deciding not to run, again, has nothing to do with anybody at the Laconia PD. It's just a personal decision on my part. I might regret it. I don't know. We'll see. I've enjoyed the professionalism of everybody in the PD, and these meetings have been very well organized. I want to give kudos to Lori Marsh over there for always having a prepared packet for us. Everything has been orderly. Everything has been on time. And it's been a pleasure and a privilege to work with everybody from the police department in the last 4 years. And I really have appreciated it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Citizen comments. Anybody? Okay. Is there a need for non-public session, Chief?
There is.
All right, so let me read this little section here. Non-public session, according to RSA 91-A:3, Section 2. Matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance, tax abatement, or waiver of fee, fine, or other levy, if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant. I'll entertain a motion to go into non-public session.
I make a motion that we go into non-public session.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
A motion from Commissioner Mello, seconded by Commissioner Whittam. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Pass unanimously in accordance with RSA 91-3, Section 3. Laconia Police Commission will enter non-public session at 3:25 PM. Doug, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we're gonna go into non-public session.